Hello and welcome. We are going to go beyond the studio with Mr. Glenn Lewis on blackamericaweb.com. I'm Nikki Woods. So, new album.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, very excited.
You look very laid back about this.
No, well, I mean, I was about to say, you actually identified the excitement from the time I ran in the room or came in the room. You're like, hey, you look excited about that. Yeah, I'm definitely excited about the album coming, Moment of Truth, August 20th, and got the single right now, Can't Say Love. So, it's a good time right now.
So, for those who aren't familiar with Glenn Lewis, tell me like how you got started. I know we talked a little bit before the interview started that you're from Toronto, so I thought that was fascinating. But tell me how you got into the music business.
Really, the funny thing is when I was younger, I was always surrounded by music. My parents, both my mom and dad, singer-songwriters. My dad was actually in a band called Crack of Dawn, and they were like one of the first bands ever to get a major deal in Canada with Columbia Records.
Wow.
And Crack of Dawn kind of had like a sort of Earth, Wind & Fire-ish type vibe. And I remember my dad, playing music constantly around the house. And so, that foundation was already there. But of course, because my parents were, they were doing music, I was like, yeah, I want to carve my own path. And there was other things that I was wanted to get into. But I guess the seed was planted
you just
and
kept getting pulled back in.
I got the bug, and I hit like 14 years old, and I wrote a song.
Mm-hmm. What song?
What was the joint called again? Man, I ain't trying to give it away, but it was a minute ago. It was a while ago.
Okay.
What was it? I can't remember the song now, but I remember the melody a little bit. But I wrote it to try to get the attention of this girl.
Aww.
And she was in a couple grades older than me, so she's like, this little pipsqueak, this little dude trying to, you know what I mean? But cool thing about it is I fell in love with making music.
Mm-hmm.
And
but you didn't get the girl.
Didn't get the girl.
but you got the career.
Yeah, definitely just as far as expressing yourself through music. And there was just nothing like it. And then that was pretty much it. I hit about, a couple years later, 16, I started really going hard and trying to pursue it.
Okay. And I guess I'm curious because I've heard your music obviously a lot. And every time I see you, I'm like so surprised at how young you are because you have such an old soul. Oh. Is that because your parents are in it? You've always grown up around it, so you appreciate, the older cats that came before you?
You know what? I think it's definitely, a combination of that as well as, I like coming up through high school, like Boyz II Men, Jodeci, Guy, Mary J. Blige, Intro, that whole, the golden age of R&B.
Intro.
Right. Those were my groups, those were my joints, and like listening to them, I was just, that kind of fueled it even more. And then finding out who their influences were through like, just other people saying, yeah, so-and-so listens to this, or I might listen to an interview and they may mention someone and I'll check them out. And it eventually led to me rediscovering a lot of the music that was already played around my house. So rediscovering the Gap Band, rediscovering Stevie Wonder, rediscovering Donny Hathaway, Earth, Wind & Fire, early Jacksons. And yeah, I guess it just all, just it left that impression or that influence on me. And to me, it was just the real stuff.
Right.
Like, that was real songs and the crafting that went into those songs and the arrangements. It was just nothing like it. The energy, the vibe. I just ended up being a 70s baby on the real. Like, it's just an amazing era.
Do you play instruments too, or?
Yeah, I play a little bit of keys. I, basically like mostly to write. I accompany myself here and there, but oftentimes when I'm in the writing process, I'll sit at the keyboard or sit at a piano.
So for you, what is that writing process like? I mean, do you come up with like a theme for an album and then you kind of write around, or just whatever life is bringing your way at the time?
Yeah, more of the latter, like where life is taking me. Like if a melody hits me, and depending on how the music might feel, depending on how the chords feel, like if it feels like something that's more reflective, or something that sounds like it would be more like there's more energy to it, or something more like uplifting. It depends on the vibe, and funny enough, a lot of songs, sometimes it'll come music first, and sometimes it'll come out of a conversation.
Really?
Like I might be having a conversation and, you just find like there's this common theme that we're talking about, and it may lend itself to like an interesting twist to a concept for a song. So sometimes songs come that way too.
So for Moment of Truth, where were you in your life? What kind of theme can we expect from this new album?
Basically it's like,
You got a look on your face like, ooh.
No, that was a great question.
Okay. Thank you.
Just you know, a lot of experiences that I've had with personal relationships and just growth in general. From the first project, from World Outside My Window and Don't You Forget It days when I was with Sony.
Yeah.
And, here we are 9-10 years later. And, now on Rough House Capital with Moment of Truth coming. It's a lot, just a lot of growth spiritually, emotionally, intellectually, and wanting to share those things, giving my unique perspective, on, as far as where men are concerned and expressing certain things that maybe men won't entirely be comfortable talking about.
But you're going to put it in a song.
Yeah, and, basically Moment of Truth is like I wanted each song to sort of be a conversation piece, and like every time I stepped in the booth, it's kind of like it's a moment of truth. You leave it all on the floor, and, that was the whole idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You like that?
I like that.
Hey,
that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
Very good. Well, I can't wait. It's August 20th.
Yes.
Moment of Truth. We appreciate you for coming by the Red Velvet Cake Studio.
Oh, this is amazing. Hopefully next time I'm here I could do a couple joints. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, that would be. We'll work on that.
All right.
We'll work on that. I'm Nikki Woods. We've gone beyond the studio with Glenn Lewis on BlackAmericaWeb.com.